Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzy. This is the Farzy Show, presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Hope you guys just had a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, except for the Phillies. Very disappointing. Wildly disappointing. Was really hoping that momentum, 15 runs, 20 hits, you'd build off of that in this particular game, and you didn't. And I'll explain on this show today why I think the Phillies were screwed even before they got on the field yesterday. Has a lot to do with that lineup card. We'll get to that. Joel Embiid wins his third Eastern Conference Player of the Month. He's the only Sixer in the history of the franchise to win that award 3 times in one season. MVP, it certainly seems like that. And whenever you hear the national people talk about it, it's like all of a sudden now they're starting to throw Giannis into the mix. And I made the argument, like, why are we even talking about Joker? Why are we even talking about Embiid? Like, Giannis, the best player on the best team. He's won a championship. He's won an MVP award. He's a proven commodity. This is really Giannis's league at this point. But yet he's not getting that consideration. I know J.J. Redick just got himself into some trouble. Stephen A. Smith had some people in Philadelphia actually praising him. So we'll get to that conversation during the show today. And there's this conversation also about the Philadelphia Eagles and the potential of them moving up in the draft. That's about the 2-week mark, right? We're about 2 weeks out. The other outlandish things start to come out. Is it crazy that they move up? No. A spot or two? No, absolutely not. But move up to third or fourth in the draft to maybe go after Will Anderson Jr., which is now one of the new favorite names out there. I guess the Bijan Johnson conversation has started to get a little bit Bijan Robinson conversation has started to get a little bit out of whack, a little tired already, and now we're just starting to throw out other names like Will Anderson Jr. We'll get to that conversation on the show today, but let me just get this off my chest because I like Rob Thompson. And I know once you start criticizing manager that everybody loves, you might get some heat. And that's fine. I don't know for the life of me what the hell he was doing with Bryson Stott over the last 2 days. Credit to Bryson Stott, he hasn't let it affect his performance at the plate. The performance rounding first we'll get to. However, I see the lineup come out yesterday. And I don't understand how you can have Bryson Stott. You can tell him one day, hey, you're going to lead off today. And you're going to lead off today, not just against Eddie Bum out there on the mound. You're going to lead off today against Sandy Alcantara, the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner. You're going to go out there today. You're going to do something you haven't done for us ever. And you're going to be at the top of the lineup. And you're going to be batting ahead of Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber, but two guys that have some pretty nice numbers when they lead off ball games. The heck with that. We're not going to go with those guys against Sandy Alcantara. Bryson Stott, we're going to go with you. Okay. He gets you 2 hits. He has some good at-bats. He continues his hit streak. Another multi-hit game for him 2 days ago. And then yesterday, the lineup card comes out. Hey, you going to start me against Jesus Luzardo? Oh, God, no. Oh, the lefty? No. I can't start you against a lefty. What more does Bryson Stott have to do to say, I'm ready for the challenge of anything you put in front of me? What else does he have to do? Takes care of Alcantara, helps lead the way against him the previous night. And then not only is he not batting first, he's not batting second after I just got done and other people just got done gushing over the idea of, oh my God, Trey Turner and Bryson Stott, top of the order, those kind of table setters. Yes, please, and thank you. And once more again, please. Then you don't even have him as 1, 2. No, he's your 8th hitter. He's your 8-hole hitter. The only guy he's batting in front of is Pasha. What? What message are you trying to send this guy? Hey, here's a challenge for you. Oh, you pass with flying colors? Get back down to the bottom of the lineup. I'll let you hear from Rob Thompson after the game because I think he knows he made a mistake. I don't know. Look, 1,000% speculation, nothing to go on this, but like what could have caused such an about face in the lineup? Trey Turner said all the right things after the game 2 nights ago, 15 runs, 20 hits, said all the right things after that. But like, was he pissed about not leading off abruptly? because he was at least still batting second, and he's batted second plenty of times in his career. He's batted third plenty of times in his career. Shouldn't have been that much of a shock to the system for him not be leadoff, so I doubt it. But what could have caused such an about face? Like, all right, good job. All right, lefty, we're going to freak out because there's a left-handed pitcher out there. Even though, by the way, Bryson Stott last year hit 40 points higher against left-handed pitching than he did right-handed pitching. So what are we talking about here? It's what? And he moves it back down to 8th. Oh, and by the way, he still hits. Doesn't sulk, doesn't look at it as a demotion. He goes out there and he still handles his business. And then 2 of 2 hits. Yet another multi-hit game for Bryson Stott. 8 of 11 games now. They hit safely, no problem. The multi-hit games, that is 11-game hitting streak, sure, but also multi-hit games. 8 of the 11. That's pretty nice. That's a pretty good start to the season for Bryson Stott, whether he's in the 8 hole or the 1 spot leading off for this Phillies ball club. So I saw that. And I just thought that was bonkers to me. And then a lot of the same things can be said about Brandon Marsh, who has risen to every challenge the Phillies have put in front of him. I feel like it's time, especially in the early goings of this season, that you say to a guy like Brandon Marsh, you say to a guy like Bryson Stott, have at it. Show me you still can't hit lefties, or show me that I can put you in against left-handed pitching and still have a lot of confidence in what you're doing out there. Show me that. Because I think they have earned that right. When Brandon Marsh came over here, the big question was whether or not this guy could be a good hitting center fielder. You knew you had speed in the outfield. You knew you had a great glove in the outfield. But what were you going to get offensively speaking from Brandon Marsh? He gets sat down yesterday for Christian Pache, who for me, I know he was a good prospect, and I know everyone's waiting for him that breakout season, and the reason the Phillies made the acquisition was to see if this is the place that he could right the ship. I think he already had a guy that was very similar to him and had already started to prove was steps ahead of him already in his career in Brandon Marsh. But they made the trade anyway, and Brandon Marsh goes on the bench against a tough lefty in Jesus Luzardo last night. I don't get it. I don't understand it. In the early parts of the season, I want guys to have the attempt, guys to have the opportunity to pass tests that maybe they struggled in previous seasons. I said the same thing about Derek Hall. And Derek Hall got a hit off a lefty the other day before he got hurt, obviously. But I believe in these sink or swim moments. Show me what you did all offseason. Show me what you were working on in spring training. Go out there and get the opportunity to fail or succeed. Prove me wrong. Show that I can trust you. If you're Rob Thompson, that's what you have to be asking of some of your players. Bryson Stott's at the top of that list. You've challenged him already. He rose to the occasion as your leadoff hitter against a Cy Young Award winner. Brandon Marsh, give him that same opportunity. Same opportunity I'm asking of the Phillies to give to Bryson Stott. I'm asking to Brandon Marsh. Let them prove to you that they can no longer hit lefties. Let them prove to you that they can have sustained success regardless of what hand the pitcher is throwing with. I want everyone in baseball, and this is not going to happen, but I believe baseball is always a better game when this is your lineup, have at it. You're going to have times where guys are going to be in funks, and they're going to be in slumps, and you're going to have to be sat down, and you're going to have certain guys that just can't hit lefties, certain guys can't hit righties. You're going to have platoon situations as seasons come out. But I believe the perfect baseball player is the guy that just goes out there and plays. Doesn't give a damn what hand the guy's throwing with. He's going to go out there for the play. He's going to mash. I don't like platoons. I like my third baseman being my third baseman. I like my center fielder being my center fielder. I like, in this case, my second baseman being my second baseman, my center fielder being my center fielder in Marsh and Stott. Give them that opportunity. Give them those sink or swim moments. For the life of me, I had to do like a double take at the lineup card when I saw it come over on Twitter yesterday, because I'm like, this is an old lineup, right? This isn't today's lineup. Like, I had to double check. Like, no, this came out 53 seconds ago. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So I felt like going into this game, Phillies were going to struggle. And boy, did they. And they struggled for a good portion of this game, especially when Aaron Nola was in it. 5 innings of what the hell's going on? The bats were silenced, absolutely silenced in the game yesterday. The strike zone, yes, it was all over the place, but I don't even want to hear about the strike zone after the Phillies put themselves through yesterday. So going into the lineup, that was one of the sticking points for me yesterday in the game. And then I don't know what Trey Turner's deal was either during the game yesterday, but he comes out against this tough lefty that Rob Thompson is anticipating his team's going to struggle against, and he swings at the first pitch. I am not one to cry and scream and yell over somebody swinging at the first pitch like a lot of people do. Like, it's a bad rule of baseball. Don't do that anymore. And for the most part, I agree with that. But sometimes you look at a guy that get in there and he could be looking first pitch fastball. It happened to JT Realmuto in the 5th inning, I want to say it was. But where he looking first pitch fastball, got a sinker and just topped it. But Trey Turner comes out in his first at bat of the game, leading off, swings at the first pitch, out. Then he comes up in his next plate appearance, swings at the second pitch, out. A guy that's a great leadoff hitter, great top of the order guy, saw 3 pitches from a tough lefty that I'm sure everybody else on the team wanted to see a little bit more of from your leadoff hitter. To see those pitches, foul off a couple, take a couple, certainly not swing at the first one, but that's what he ended up doing. And then later in the game, I want to say it was the 5th inning or 7th inning, Trey Turner swings at a ball in his eyes. It would have been a 1-2. It would have been a 2-0 count. Instead, he makes it a 1-1 count, and he makes the out. And by the way, that was between 2 walks. That was in the 6th inning, that particular thing. So overall, just pissed off at the way this game played out yesterday. Then the play of plays. You're getting runs on the board. You're responding after your starting pitcher, Aaron Nola, struggled, allowed 4 runs in the top of the 6th inning. You get a leadoff home run from Kyle Schwarber. You make it 4-1. Nick Castellanos gets a hit as he continues to hit for this Phillies team. Alec Boehm goes up there and should have had a 2-0 count. Tomlinson called a ball a strike. So now all of a sudden you're at 1-1. Similar situation I was just describing later in the game with Trey Turner. But it changes the whole at bat. Alec Boehm ends up fouling out in that plate appearance. Then you have Josh Harrison step to the plate. He ends up getting an infield single. Then you have Sosa get hit by a pitch. You got the bases loaded. And now the stage is set in a 4-1 ball game for Bryson Stott to play the role of hero. And Bryson Stott comes through, baby. Works a full count, deposits a ball deep in the left field, deep in the gap there. He's sharply rounding first base, aggressively rounding first base. 2 runs have already scored. It's 4-3. You're thinking, oh, you're going to have runners at the corners. You're going to have 2 outs here. The pressure is still on the Marlins. And, oh, by the way, all this against the left-handed pitcher. And Bryson Stott rounds that first base a little too aggressively and gets thrown out by Gene Segura himself from third base. Not a good look for our man Bryson Stott. After the game, as you would assume, Rob Thompson was asked about that particular play, and he was asked also about Bryson Stott possibly being back in the leadoff spot. Here is your manager's take on everything.
He just continues to do well and have good at bats. So he'll be leading off tomorrow and playing. So we'll have to figure it out moving forward. But tomorrow will be in the leadoff spot.
Second one, too big of a turn.
Yeah, too big of a turn. You know, and they say he made a nice play and threw behind him, but just a little bit over aggressive and trying to do too much.
Talked about that a few times this week. The base running miscues and giving away outs in a close game like that. Is that something that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you got to control your emotions and try not to do too much. You know, and we'll clean that up.
How deflating do you?
I saw this from our friend Corey Simon of NBC Sports Philadelphia during the game last night. So Bryson Stott comes up with the single, and then he makes the base running blunder. Corey Simon putting it out there. The Phillies have been thrown out on the base paths more than the Braves, the Marlins, the Rays, the Cubs, the Giants, the Angels, the Nationals combined. 7 Major League Baseball teams combined haven't matched what the Phillies have done on the base path so far this season. The hardest thing to do in sports, big believer in this, is to hit a baseball. The Phillies hit a baseball very well. Phillies hit baseball real well. But running the base is something we're all taught in Little League. Yeah, that's where we have our struggles. It's like the mental block. Hitting the baseball, that's the easy part. Well, what happens on the bases? I don't know. I get lost. So Stott, to his credit, and I thought this was funny because I do the post-game show on Jacob Media after the game, and I said, Bryson Stott has to have better concentration. Bryson Stott killed all the momentum in that particular play after coming up at the plate. He did what he had to do. It was a big mistake by him. Let's see. Hopefully he owns it after the game. I see the quote from him after the game. You know what Bryson Stott said? I absolutely killed the momentum. I got to be better in that situation. They made a good play, but I still got to be better in that situation. It killed momentum. I'm like, well, good for you. At least you're owning it. On the 1-year anniversary of Alec Boehm owning, I bleeping hate this place, you have Bryson Stott owning the mistake that he made on the field. Not as verbal a mistake on the field, obviously, but still a mistake on the field. And he goes into the clubhouse afterwards. He's talking to the reporters. And yes, he did kill momentum in that game. A lot of baseball players, a lot of baseball managers, big believers in momentum, and I am as well. And it certainly felt like you were killing momentum at that point. That was a tough play to watch unfold. And then you continue to see, as I mentioned earlier, in the game, or later in the game, you have in the 7th inning, the very next inning, you have Trey Turner go up, has that wild swing at the 1-0 count, should have been up in the count 2-0. He ends up lining out to right field after that. Schwarber gets the walk. Real Muto swings at the first pitch, and he goes into the 6-4-3 double play. And after that 7th inning, it was still 5-3. In the 8th inning, Bellotti comes into the game, and the struggles continue. 3 more runs score in that inning, and the Phillies end up losing 8-4. You did get an RBI double from JT Realmuto in that 9th inning. Maybe a little lightning there, but unfortunately to no avail. Phillies fall in the ball game 8-4. I know Aaron Nola struggled. I know Aaron Nola has struggled. That 6th inning was ugly. And I'll let you hear from Rob Thompson after the game what he had to say about Aaron Nola, but this is a problem. I know people will say, oh, it's early in the season. You can't jump on him now. I'm not jumping on him now, but I am evaluating what I've seen over his last 5 starts. And it hasn't been good. You go back into the World Series, those starts weren't good. You go back to this season, he started out the season struggling. And then he comes back against the Yankees of all teams, gives you 5 2/3. But then again, starts to really hit a fan. Things start to really hit the fan. He hits a wall. His stuff hit the fan, and it started to go all over the place a little bit. Only charged for 2 runs while he was in the game, charged for 3 runs total because he walked a batter, and that run ended up scoring. So 5 2/3 is what he gave against the Yankees, and was charged for 3 runs. In this game, he made the one mistake to Birdie, gave up the solo home run in the 5th inning. You're going to that 5th inning, and it's a 1-run ball game. He's able to get out of that inning, goes into the 6th inning, and that's where the wheels start to come off. And did he get squeezed? Should he have been out of the inning? Should a home plate umpire Nate Tomlinson called strike 3 at the knees of Gene Segura? And it wasn't even, it was at the knee, a little above the knees, but it was still a good pitch. I think it was a sinker he threw him. And instead of ringing up Gene Segura, Tomlinson decided, no, that's a ball, low. And next thing you know, in that 6th inning, like I said, everything starts to come apart. Segura, you get that the third strike call missed. Instead, it goes to a 3-2 count. He ends up getting a single. Nick Fortes comes up. He gets the RBI single, and then you're down 4-0. And that's when Nola was taken out, and Gregory Soto was put into the ball game, and he was able to get Chisholm to come out of the game, there. So, and then you have your own little rally in the 6th inning that was killed by the momentum killer of Bryson Stott and a base running blunder. I don't know what the Phillies do at this point. This is what spring training is for. This is what literally your entire career is for, well before you get to any professional rankings, whether that be the minors or the Major League Baseball. But damn, man, find a way to correct this egregious mistake that the Phillies are making consistently on the base paths. That's what Rob Thompson, that's what Dusty Wathan, that's what these guys need to do. Because that was rather aggressive. Bryson Stott taking that turn, and the Phillies have been the victim of aggressive base running. Sometimes guys get away with it. Hell, sometimes a ball can bounce off your shoulder like it did the other day against Kyle Schwarber. Sometimes Bryce Harper turns singles into doubles into triples, and he'll be aggressive. He'll be trying to score on situations where he shouldn't be, where he should be getting the stop sign a lot earlier, mind you, from Dusty Wathan, and you just make mistakes. It happens sometimes. The rate in which it's happening right now with the Phillies, when you can combine 7 other big league teams and say that they're doing it less than you, As one team, yeah, I'm pretty sure you have a problem there. And it's frustrating as all hell. It almost makes me want to throw hot dogs. We'll get to that in a second. Here is your manager, Rob Thompson, on Aaron Nola's performance last night and what went wrong.
Well, I mean, he gave up the triple and the double, and then after that, he had 2 out, scratch it through the 5-6 hole. Segura blooped to center field. We thought his stuff was still good, and we wanted to try and get him through the inning. And then his pitch count got to the point where I had to go get him.
You guys haven't gotten a ton of length out of your starters so far. So how much of a problem is that having an effect?
Well, it taxes the bullpen for sure, and that's part of it. But we got to figure it out.
I'd love to see him figure it out. It doesn't look like it's anything that the Phillies are going to be figuring out anytime soon, unfortunately. But this has been a big thing with Aaron Nola. When he gets to that 4th or 5th inning, I mean, this is why, if you go all the way back to Gabe Kapler's first game as manager of the Phillies, pulling Aaron Nola at 68 pitches in a game he was cruising, that's why he did it. He was worried about things like this. I still believe it, especially an opening day. If you have a guy that's supposed to be your ace out there on the mound, then by all means, let him have at it. But this is what isn't just a concern with Aaron Nola, as consistently as we have seen it from Aaron Nola. This is a concern with a lot of pitchers. Third time through the lineup, them getting hit, and he certainly got hit. Did he get help from the umpire? No, he did not get help from the umpire. He did get help from Gene Segura, though, because, and this is why I hate going after balls and strikes, because at some point, usually it evens out. There are instances where it's just not your guy getting the calls. Yesterday, it seemed like it was both. It was an inconsistent strike zone, both on the inside corner of the plate and the outside corner of the plate. Sometimes it was a ball. Sometimes it was a strike. Sometimes the pitch at the knees was a ball. Sometimes it was a strike. There was no consistency with the way that this game was umpired, balls and strikes wise, in this particular game. Couple instances, you can look at both pitchers getting squeezed. It happens. But after you were supposed to have Gene Segura rung up and out of the inning on that third strike at the knees, Aaron Nola comes inside on a pitch well off the inside corner of the plate, a ball, and Gene Segura, Mean Gene, was very nice in this instance, swung right over top of it and still allowed Aaron Nola to stay in that ball game, being walked in that instance. Now, still, Gene Segura ended up getting a hit anyway, but it was an inconsistent strike zone. I just want to make sure I do acknowledge that. So the Phillies will be back at it today, 4:05 start time. And I like to think that we're advancing as a society. And then I go to a sporting event. And generally speaking, I have a wonderful time at sporting events. However, last night was Dollar Dog Night. And if you ever want to just lose a couple of ounces of confidence in society, watch how people react when you offer them a free T-shirt out of a T-shirt cannon. They lose their minds for that T-shirt. Ah! Right? It's like, do the people have shirts that they're throwing? Oh, yeah, they got plenty of shirts. Well, they want this one. That's just cool to get one. Okay, fine. And then Dollar Dog Night. Long lines, ladies and gentlemen. Long lines. People waiting for half an hour in a line to get a hot dog, right? Dollar Dog Night. You get hot dogs and all that stuff. And that's great. It's beautiful. It's a fun night. Everyone loves Dollar Dog Night. I certainly do, right? And I'm not the biggest hot dog fan in the world, but if it's Dollar Dog Night, I'm at a ball game. Oh, nothing better. Nothing better. At a ball game, I got to get a hot dog. I got to get nachos. I got to get a drink in a souvenir cup that I can take home and use as my winter cups later in life, and it's wonderful. But last night, seeing people throw hot dogs after waiting in line, long lines at Citizens Bank Park, just made me shake my damn head. I don't like judging people. I'm not somebody that likes to sit at some French cafe just staring out at the public, being like, look at the person with the stupid dog. Whatever. I think that's awful. But when I see society acting in a manner that is just below our station, throwing hot dogs at one another for whatever reason, it just doesn't make any sense. One, I always think of my grandmother telling me, don't waste food. Don't you waste a bite. Don't you waste a bite. There's starving people all over the world. And I see the food fight basically breaking out with people throwing hot dogs. And then I think about the poor people that actually waited in line for those hot dogs for as long as they did. And now all of a sudden they're projectiles. Oh, holy Lord. Not a good look. Not a good look, even a little bit, unfortunately. Hey, you know what is a good look? The NFL draft. And I want to get into this before I get into Joel Embiid and I get into just about everything else. Oh, but before I say that, I'll get to this again in the morning rush. But Phillies are back at it tomorrow, or today. Today. 4:05 start time. So a little bit of an earlier game for the Phillies. In South Philadelphia, Zach Wheeler will be on the hill for the Phils. And hopefully they'll be able to win this series. If they lose this series, then we got to deal again with the fact that the Phillies can't beat the Marlins. Like, I don't want to deal with that. I thought we buried that. I thought I thought our man Garrett Stubbs threw that argument, threw that conversation into the ground with his bat spike with his walk-off win against Miami last year. Thought we buried all of that. Turns out, not the case. Not the case. Win this game, and then we'll be talking about the Phillies just handling their business against the Marlins the way they should. But one of the things that's going to be key, not as key as it has been in years past, now that you're facing divisional teams less this year, but it's going to come down to the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies beating the Marlins. The Marlins are the team that I see being the lowest of the low in the division. Again, you got to beat that team. Whenever you face them, you got to capitalize on those opportunities. And generally speaking, it's going to come down to whoever really beats up on the bad teams and then who wins the big games in the division. But often it's going to come down to who could just beat up on those lower rung teams. And I believe the Marlins are one of those teams. They didn't look like it yesterday. Phillies certainly looked like it. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the Mets, the Braves, and the Phillies taking care of business against the Marlins. Edward Cabrera gets the start for the Phillies, or excuse me, for the Marlins against Phillies today. Zach Wheeler gets the start for the Phils, looking to continue off his solid start last time out, which is great. I mentioned Bryson Stott being back in the leadoff spot. I love that Rob Thompson right after the game was like, "Oh well, he'll be back in the leadoff spot tomorrow." I love the idea of him and Trey Turner being your 1-2 punch in this lineup. Let's get to the NFL draft. I want to get to the NFL draft. We'll get to Joel Embiid a little bit later. Every year it seems like, especially when you have 2 first-round picks or 3 first-round picks, and even if you have 1 pick and it's the top 10, it seems like it always comes in waves when you are anticipating who's going to be the pick for the Eagles. Bijan Robinson seems like he has really taken his turn as the praised player. And I know he is probably the guy coming in, offensive player, running back, wildly talented, drawing comparisons to a more versatile Saquon Barkley. Peter King has certainly put a quarter in that machine a couple of days ago when he wrote about it, saying that it's a possibility the Eagles should really consider moving up in the draft, if need be, to take Bijan Robinson. Or maybe he's right there available at 10. Some mock drafts, I think Mel Kiper's latest mock draft has him going at 18. Okay, that'd be interesting. Some other people writing up whether or not he's going to fall in the draft, whether or not he'll be there for the Eagles to take it 30. That I doubt. But it seemed like we have exhausted the conversation already for Bijan Robinson and what he's going to be doing at the pro level. For me, I am looking at it like I don't like taking running backs in the first round, and I certainly don't like taking running backs at 10. The other side of this is, are you going to take him and have him as the most impactful player in the draft? Is he the guy that comes in here as your immediate starter? He's your immediate heavy ball carrier. He's your bell cow back. Is he the marquee guy? When you look at a guy like Miles Sanders, bell cow, maybe not, but number one back, certainly. Can Robinson come in here and have that opportunity and succeed? He certainly can. But when I look at this offense, I look at a stacked offense. You are going to be good whether or not you have Robinson or not. You are going to be great if you have Robinson or not. If you have him, you probably become the best offense in the NFL. You're still one of the best offenses in the NFL. You still have an MVP caliber quarterback. You still have 2 solid as all hell wide receivers. You still have a great tight end in Dallas Goedert. You still have a running back core of a guy that you really can't depend on all that well because of injury in Rashad Penny. And then you also have Kenny Gainwell. We saw how he came on towards the end of the season last year. And you have another guy in Boston Scott who is in no way, shape, or form like comparing him to what Bijan Robinson can do at the NFL level. But he's a guy that has consistency for you in this offense. My point is, and a great offensive line. Let's not leave that out. My point is, your offense is stacked. Do you really want to continue to fatten that cow? Or do you want to get another fat cow and bolster your defense? Now the conversation is starting to shift a little bit to Will Anderson Jr. One hell of an athlete. It goes without saying. A dominant athlete. And when you want to talk about what a guy like Bijan Robinson can do for an offense behind this offensive line, it's exactly what Will Anderson Jr. could do for this defense in terms of taking them to the next level. You have on one side Josh Sweat continuing to emerge. You have Hassan Reddick continuing to be a dominant pass rusher at the NFL level. You put Will Anderson Jr. on the other side of that. You want to talk about getting a fat cow? Oh, man, you're pretty plump offensively. You're all fat and happy offensively. Defensively, people will be forgetting about what Sean Desai is going to do. They're just going to want Hassan Reddick and Will Anderson Jr. to get after the quarterback and have quarterbacks surrendering. This is another hot name that's out there. And I'll tell you, when I hosted the Maxwell Awards, when Nick Sirianni and Will Anderson Jr. won for Defensive Player of the Year, when Nick Sirianni took to the podium, I think it was one award later, he had mentioned how he talked to Will Anderson Jr. He's like, hey, you can tell those other teams in the top 5 to go to hell. You don't want to play for them anyway. You want to come play for Philadelphia. Take it in while you're in the area. Drink it in. Don't think he's going to. Don't think he's going to fall, and I certainly don't think the Eagles are going to move up, but it's become one of the sexy conversations. With all the talk, the tired talk about the Eagles possibly moving back, with the 10th pick moving back, by the way. I don't think they do that. I think they pick at 10 at the latest. I think there's a chance they move up a spot or two like they did for Devontae Smith. There's somebody right there that they want to take. And if they do that, if I see that they trade up, oh my goodness, then that means two things. One, Will Anderson Jr. has fallen, and I don't think that's going to be the case. And two, Bijan Robinson is right there for the taking. And they really want to make sure that he's on this team, but I don't think that they do that. I think they trade out with that 30th pick, and I'm sticking with that. But now the conversation has said, all right, well, what if the Eagles move up in the draft? What's the kind of capital that they're going to use in order to move up in the draft? Because they're certainly not going to use draft capital. I don't see the Eagles being overly aggressive in this draft. Regardless of what the talk has been, regardless of what the anticipation has been and the expectation, I don't see the Eagles being aggressive in this draft. I see them being, I hate to use the word passive and put a negative connotation on it, but that's the way it'll come off. I see the Eagles moving back, if anything, because they don't have a lot of draft capital. And you know what else they don't have? A lot of cap space. So they want to get later picks. They want to get guys later in this draft that aren't going to cost as much, that will still be able to pay dividends for them later in this draft. They will draft a player that'll come in here, I think, be impactful with that 10th overall pick. But when it comes to the 30th, they're going to be shipping that off to get either more second-round picks, more third-round picks, whatever it might be, to try to increase their assets, as many assets as they can get when they don't have picks in a lot of these middle rounds. That's going to be a huge concern for Howie Roseman going into this. And I can all but guarantee you they're not going to make a selection at 30. They are going to use that pick to move back in the draft. I don't see them packaging it with anything to move up. I don't see that being the case. I don't think there's a player that they're looking at that they're thinking we absolutely have to get this guy right now in order for them to use both their first-round picks to attempt to move up and then also replenish what you could be having in the second, third, and fourth rounds of this NFL draft. I don't see Howie Roseman doing that. I see him using that 30th to make sure that he does replenish the second, third, fourth, fifth rounds as well in this draft. So Will Anderson Jr., just the other name to keep out there. Defensive Player of the Year for the Maxwell Awards. Just wreaks havoc on offensive lines. He's got the speed. He's got the size. Certainly has the mental fortitude. Has all the aggression in the world. And I do like this little note. One thing that they did say when I was hosting the awards was, make sure you say junior. I said, what? They said, well, Will Anderson Jr., he loves being a junior. You have to make sure that you say junior. And I'm like, okay. All right. So the man loves his family. That's got to be a good sign, right? Man loves his family. That's a great sign. And you're damn right I called him junior. Will Anderson Jr. Hells yeah. Let me tell you about my man Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. In the other corner of 8th and Walnut, Steven Singer Jewelers provides the perfect price each and every day online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, the perfect price online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Now, what Steven Singer got going on? I'll tell you what Steven Singer has going on. He's got that perfect price each and every day. So what does that mean? When other jewelers are marking things way up just to mark it down, a couple of different, mark it down just a little bit, Steven Singer's right there to make sure it stays at the perfect price each and every day, so you don't feel like you get taken advantage of at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Steven Singer Jewelers, online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Let me tell you about the great people at Manscaped, Manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with Manscaped.com. You'll love their Platinum Package 4.0, which is absolutely incredible. It is their biggest and best hygiene bundle yet. It includes their Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. It also includes their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. So join 4 million men worldwide who manscape with confidence and comfort thanks to their skin-safe technology at Manscaped.com. How about Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Use promo code Farzy for 20% off. You'll love their tropical tasting Bayox that clocks into the chart-topping 24.1%. And Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Genetics of these guys are off the charts. So let's get Freestone Farm CBD, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Great for, at the end of the day, looking to wind down. Great for after a workout. Looking to cool down. Freestone Farm CBD, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsStation.com. Before I get to the chat check, I still have this in my files here, but there it is. That's the look that I give people when they say Joel Embiid is not the MVP. And I know I mentioned this earlier in the show. JJ Redick said as much on First Take the other day that Giannis Antetokounmpo is the MVP of the NBA. It's really hard to argue. Like, for me, when people say it's not Embiid, when people say Embiid is not the MVP, this is exactly the look I give them. Because the NBA has changed greatly. And I'm not just talking about the fact that it's a three-point league now. I'm not just talking about the fact that the league has changed in terms of style. It used to be, it was Kobe's league. It was Shaq's league. It was Michael Jordan's league. Voter fatigue didn't really seem to be a thing. And it's like, if Giannis was playing in the 90s, and let's take away Jordan, let's take away, Hakeem, let's take away those guys, and let's just talk about Giannis being as good as he was at the NBA level now. Let's say he was as good as he would be in the 90s. It would be his league. It'd be like, who's the MVP? And chalk up Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, voter fatigue, I don't really believe was a huge thing. Mainly because maybe you had Michael Jordan for 5 MVPs, and maybe that's pretty damn good. But it seemed like voters didn't get tired of it. Voters embraced it. And now it's like, well, Joker can't win 3 times. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And if we're going to give the MVP award to a center 3 times, one of those times, it has to be Joel Embiid. He's the best center in the NBA. And he's not the MVP? That seems ludicrous. And then it's like, all right, well, now let's change the conversation a little bit because we're tired of talking about Joker. Joker's taking himself out of the running by, first off, most importantly, not playing as well as Joel Embiid this season on both ends of the floor. And then also he's won twice and he hasn't played towards the end of the season. He missed games and we always knock Joel Embiid for doing that. So let's knock Joker for it now. And now it's like, all right, well, we can't talk about that anymore because it's clearly Embiid ahead of Joker. So what else can we do to throw in here to make it interesting towards the end of the season? Now that the regular season's over. Giannis. Let's throw Giannis back in. That's the ticket. That'll keep people interested in the NBA when we're not talking about the play-in tournament. I think, how do you argue against Giannis? Well, unfortunately, the answer is, well, he's already won one. And it's always been Joker and Embiid. Now it's time for Embiid to win. Stephen A. had our back on ESPN in response to JJ Redick saying that Giannis is the guy. And I liked his logic, and his logic makes a lot of sense, and it's very simple logic, but I think it's the best point you could possibly make. You take away Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Bucks are still a pretty good basketball team. Take away Joel Embiid from the Sixers. You're gonna get 30 every night from James Harden? I don't see that happening. Tyrese Maxey going to step up really well. I mean, I think he still scores at 25 points, but I don't think he's MVP. Tobias Harris plays a lot better when there's one less star in the lineup, but I don't think he's stepping up to carry this team to another 50-win season. Take Joel Embiid away from the Sixers, and you're not even talking about making it out of the second round of the playoffs. Not even talking about it. That, I think, is the best point you can make, is how valuable he is to a top-ranked team. And you're certainly not a 3 seed without Joel Embiid as your MVP. Let's get to the chat check, see how you wonderful people are doing. Brought to you by Sky Motorcoach, motorcoach.com. Chat check. April, what's up, April? How are you? Sean Gillespie, good to see you. Travis Ricklin, what's going on? Rakeen, is it a double I? All right. Morning in. Sean Kilray, what's going on? Phillies being back and forth again. April, ain't it fun? The 15 runs, 20 hits, I went, for Nola, they're not going to score. That's what I thought. I was like, they're going to do all this. And then the following night, it's going to be like 1-0. Nola's not going to get any run support. And that's more or less what happened. And then Nola imploded a wee bit. But yeah, I just had a feeling. April, you're with me. The lineup made no sense. Listen one more time. Just listen to Rob Thompson talk about this one more time. I just want to play the part about Bryson Stott back in the leadoff spot. He gets asked about Bryson Stott and how he's performing against a lefty. Listen to this.
He just continues to do well and have good at bats. So he'll be leading off tomorrow and playing
without being prompted. So what are you going to do with him? You had him as leadoff. He did well, and then he batted him to batted him eighth. Why was that? Without being prompted, without being asked. Oh, but he'll be back in the leadoff spot tomorrow. That screams to me. Mistake. I made a mistake. Thank you, April. Quit switching them around. Let them get settled in somewhere. I agree. Travis, what's going on? Baseball players got it good. They rarely get injured. And you want to get to eat sunflower seeds while playing? And you get to eat sunflower seeds while playing? Travis, you are correct. Although I won't say they rarely get injured, and you certainly can't say that about this Phillies team, considering they start the season with Ranger Suarez out, a guy they were reserving a spot in the rotation for, Andrew Painter, out, Bryce Harper, out. Did I mention Reese Hoskins right? Yes, I did. And then also his backup, out. So, can't say that with this Phillies team. And as far as the sunflower seeds, you're absolutely right. Here, I'm going to tell you this, Travis. This is all you need to know. If you ever get the opportunity to watch a former NFL player talk to a former Major League Baseball player about the preparation month leading up to the season, i.e. training camp, i.e. spring training, sit back with a big old box of popcorn and watch that conversation. Because the baseball player is talking to the football player, and the baseball player is like, oh, man, spring training, what a great time. We go down to Florida. I see the guys again. We're in our apartments or our hotel. We're hanging out. We're going out after the games. It's beautiful. Sunny Florida. We're playing golf. Oh, man, it'll be so great to see the guys again. And then in particular, some of the football players that I know had to go through Lehigh. And their experience is far different preparing for their season than the baseball player. So yes, you are correct, and the baseball players have it easier than most other athletes. But man, have that conversation with those two guys. They come from much different backgrounds. The people I'm referring to, John Marzano and Hugh Douglas. That's the first conversation I remember two guys having conversation about prepping for their respective seasons. Baseball players have to eat something out of boredom for their nerves and various rituals. Sean Gillespie, very good point. PJ's chiming in. Luzardo is a problem. Good for the Marlins for knowing they could fix him in that trade. Fair point. Who was managing yesterday? Joe Girardi, says Sean Kilrain. I know it's early, but got to get it together. I concur. It sounds like this could be the game where they get it together. It's only one game of seeing it, but I do look forward to more Bryson Stott, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber. Those are some table setters right there. Mike Fuji, good morning. Happy hump day, folks. Happy hump day, Mike Fuji. Too much is inconsistency with the fightings. I agree. Sean Kilran, I heard $1 dog night was ridiculous. A friend said it was the weight was ridiculous. April, to be fair, most people act like that, like I was talking about with the free t-shirt and whatever. Most people act like that for a free anything. That is fair. That is fair. Do you see people like, you know what? Actually, I get when we're losing our minds for the free Chick-fil-A, or like when we used to get the free Frosty at Sixers games, when we lose our minds for those things, I get, because I want a free Frosty. I want my Chick-fil-A. Damn right I do. Fuji, Dollar Dog Night used to be aka college night at CBP. College night ended quickly. That ended with a very quick death. That ended with a soldier's death. Shout out movie Gladiator. Dollar Dog Night used to be, it was they used to sell the Phillies shirts with college. If you give us John Belushi shirts, basically, how do you think the night's gonna end? We're gonna be partying. That was a great time. The college nights were a great time. I want to say college nights were like 06, 07, right when the Phillies were like trying to turn it around and their attendance wasn't great. Already at the new ballpark, yeah. Sean Killian, if Tampa Bay were to offer you the 19th and first round pick 2020, would you do it? What are we doing here? Devin Smith? Oh. Knowing your guy Bejan would be there, pass on, would you do it? So if Tampa Bay were to offer you the 19th pick in the first round 2024, and a first round of 2024, would you do it? Knowing your guy Bejan would be there, or pass on him and draft other needs? Huh. I'm moving back to 19 from 10. Is that what you're saying? If I'm moving back from 19 to 10, the first round pick next year. That's an interesting. Okay, Sean, not this particular scenario. Would I do it though? I'm probably pulling the trigger on that. But if this situation also crossed my mind, how is Howie in this draft going to do something for next year? Because he did that last year by getting a first round pick this year. How is he going to do it again? He loves to have that draft stock in his back pocket. Maybe he doesn't do it with this particular team. Maybe he doesn't do it with this particular draft because they don't have as many assets as normal or as we have seen. But I would love to see how he would pull that off. Get an asset for next year's draft in this draft. Fuji says, Kush, April, the college nights for sure. They were a disaster, but so much fun. Absolutely. Affiliated Poppy. Sorry. Embiid, book it. I agree. Of the three, if I had to pick one to take the last shot with the game of the line, it would be Joel 100% of the time. David Bogert, there you go, my friend. That's a great point. Who's taking the last shot? Always love that argument. MIA Sanchez, what's going on? Morning, Mark, everyone. Well, at least the Phillies scored more than 1 or 2 runs, as I predicted, as you predicted, Mihai. Very good. April, I can only imagine Hughes' side of that conversation. It was just jealousy. It was sheer jealousy is what it was. MIA Sanchez, by the way, if you thought the Phillies NL ring ceremony wasn't worth it, the Rays hung up a 2022 AL wildcard sign. Now that's just a pure participation trophy. Good God, y'all. Johnny Mars, rest in peace, gone but never forgotten. Mike Fuji, absolutely loved Johnny Mars. That was the let me get over to the friends. I think we got one comment over here. Chris Clement over there on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. We need help with pitching depth. You're not wrong. Ranger Suarez threw off the mound yesterday. Apparently all went well, so you'll be getting him back in the lineup. Or back in the rotation. Here's the other thing, though. Strom's been great. Strom's been absolutely fantastic. And Bailey Falter's been great. So you're like 4 and 5 guys in the rotation have been fine. Walker turned around a little bit in his last start. So it's funny. The pitching depth has not been a horrible thing for the Phillies as of right now. You know what has been horrible? Base running blunders. stupid, boneheaded mistakes on the base paths. That has been terrible. Now let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Let's talk about what the Phillies got going on today. I mentioned earlier, Zach Wheeler gets to start against Edward Cabrera. Wheeler is coming off a nice start for himself for the Phillies when he took on the Cincinnati Reds. It was a 5-2 win. He went 5 1/3, allowing just 5 hits, 2 runs, both of them earned. Did walk 3, so do want to see those numbers come down just a wee bit for Zach Wheeler. That would be nice to see in this particular start. As for Edward Cabrera, he's coming off only starting games against the New York Mets. And opening is more of a better term. Allowed 2 runs on 2 hits against the Mets in his first start on April 1st, and then he went 2 2/3, allowing 2 runs on no hits. Walked 7. He's walked 13 batters in his first 2 openings of the season. Here's what I will tell people. Patience. Bryson Stott at the top of the order. Patience, please, and thank you. That'd be a nice thing to see in today's ball game. Flyers, how about this? They won in overtime last night. 4-3 victory against the Blue Jackets, 2 terrible teams in the NHL. Carter Hart, by the way, won the MVP award of the season for the Flyers. He was in goal for the net last night, or he was in net last night for the Flyers, helping himself to the tune of 28 saves, I believe it was, for Carter Hart. 28 saves on 31 shots. So great to see for him. Flyers will end their regular season as they sit 30-38-1, 30-38-13 on the season. They end their season tomorrow against the Blackhawks in Chicago. So check out how the Flyers fare in that game, of course. And the play-in tournament, as far as that goes, Sixers are set. Sixers are taking on the team that's already decided. Sixers are taking on the Brooklyn Nets Saturday at 1:00 in the afternoon in South Philadelphia as they get that series started and underway. Thanks, everybody. The chat check. That was the Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Here's what I'm going to be watching for in tonight's ball game with the Phillies. Obviously, Bryson Stott at 4:05 in the leadoff spot for the Phillies. Obviously, Zach Wheeler getting things done. I want to see some better at-bats from Trey Turner because I don't feel like he has been as good as we have expected him to be as far as just taking at-bats. He's been getting hits. He's been getting on base, and all that's great. And all that's ultimately the prize. That's the proof in the pudding right there of how good a ball player he is. Last night was a little off-putting for me. I want to see Bryson Stott and Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber be the 1-2-3 punch that nobody wants to face to start a ball game. When it comes to table setters and power, that's what I want to see. Nick Castellanos, speaking of power, still getting the base hits, still getting the doubles. Alec Boehm still doing that with pop. Nick Castellanos, if you're in the lineup tonight, and I would assume you would be, I'm betting first home run today from Nick Castellanos. When I'm done with the show, I'm going to go on DraftKings. I'm going to be betting on my man Nick Castellanos to go yard today. First homer of the season. That's what I like tonight. I also like Zach Wheeler continuing to build off his last start. And I see him going 7 innings tonight, and we all take a breath as we give the bullpen hopefully a little bit of a rest after last night's performance, the night before that's performance, and they've been taxed. As you also heard from your skipper, Rob Thompson, after the game, talking about how they have certainly been taxed with not long starts, long outings for your starting pitching. So hopefully they'll turn that around tonight, and all will be right with the world in this Phillies squad after tonight. I got to the Joel Embiid stuff, got to the draft stuff, got to the Flyers stuff, got to the Phillies stuff, and that about wraps up. So there you go. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you guys joining the program today. Much appreciated. We'll be talking about all things Phillies tomorrow. We'll break down the NFL draft a little bit further tomorrow as well. What is the most logical thing, the most likely thing the Eagles do in this draft? We'll continue to kick that around on tomorrow's program as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been the Farzy Show presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price, perfect price. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Appreciate affiliated Poppy. If you believe the Eagles team is built for another Super Bowl run, you're down to trade next year's first and 10 to move up. That's true. Carter comes to Philly. It's still possible. And Dusty Bogner. What up, Farzy? Laid an egg last night. Today we got this. Let's cross our fingers and hope for that one. Thanks, everyone. Jim Hyde produced the program, did a wonderful job. Everyone at Buzz Sports and Entertainment, thanks. Everyone at Jacob Media, thank you very much. See you guys tonight after this Phillies win against the Marlins on the Jacob Media YouTube channel for the Phillies postgame show. See you guys.